I actually took this out of an airplane flying back here. That's Mount Hood that rises 11,238 feet. So the fire picture you saw from Mr. Schrader was the face of this fire. This is up on top then a day or so later looking out. You can see how that smoke just covers everything. That was all burning. They had 10 helicopters trying to put out that fire, and it was so smoky they often couldn't fly the helicopters. Go to the next one. This gives you a shot from the Washington side of the Columbia River. That's, I don't know, probably mile across the river as it burns, and this is looking the other direction. But it just tells you this went on for weeks. And this is just one example of multiple fires. And I want to follow up with Dr. Topic on your point about fire funding. We're all in. In fact, I was in a meeting in the Speaker's office with a number of the Westerners last night, again, and he's being very helpful and supportive. I have great confidence that this administration is going to replace the funds, over $600 million, hopefully in this next tranche, so that we can get the money back into the accounts of the Forest Service. But you're spot on. Every year we repeat this stupid cycle of robbing the accounts that would do the forest thinning to pay for the firefighting while the fires are going on, so we don't do the preventive work because we got to pay for the fire. Then we replace the money when it's too late to do the preventive work because winter set in. And then we repeat it. It makes no sense. It's 4 to 5 times more expensive to fight fire than to do the treatment. And while prescribed fire is very important and a subject of our hearing, and I know the CDC and the EPA are looking at studies on the effects of prescribed fire smoke versus wildfire smoke, and I think we're going to see it's dramatically different because you can manage it. We can do even better than that by thinning out the forests and getting them back in balance. So we're trying to solve the fire borrowing issue. We're trying to solve the fire funding replacement issue. And again, I think the Trump administration's fully on board to do that. But we need the management tools to be expanded in the proper way. I want to, and you mentioned the Ashland Watershed Project. That's, I think, being done under the Healthy Forest Restoration Act, which I helped write, I don't know, a number of years ago. And I've been up on that project. It's expensive to do, but it's incredibly important to do to save that watershed above Ashland. But I want to go to our forestry professor from Oregon State University, because I'd like you to answer about stand densities. We've talked about the fuel loads, but some of these stands on a given acre on the east side of Oregon should have how many trees in a dry forest environment versus what they have today?
It would cover a spectrum. The driest end of ponderosa pine with a little juniper underneath might be as low as 20 trees per acre, so truly a savanna or a woodland instead of a forest.
And on those sorts of forests today that have been left untreated and unburned, how dense is that?
Some of them that I've gone into are 1,000 stems per acre.
1,000 trees per acre where it should be 20. This is the fuel loading. And every year, some of those die. The growth continues. It's like just adding more gas into another can, and you just wait. We get dry lightning in the West. Here, you get these thunderstorms, and it rains and washes everything. We just don't get the rain. It shuts off. We went, 88, 90 days with no rain this summer. It's not abnormal, a little abnormal, and temperatures are rising. The climate is changing. I get all that. But we've got this building fuel load that we need to deal with. And on the west side, in terms of overstocking, what forest?
Well, similarly, there's less of a frequent fire history on the west side, the Douglas fir forest, including down into your part of the country. Probably we had surface fire in there maybe every 40 to 70 years or so historically. But those stands also are more dense because we've been excluding fire longer than that.
I want to quickly, in the remaining few seconds I have, Mr. Marshall, thanks for being here, first of all. From your perspective, there was a lot of discussion about how fires are fought on federal land and within certain designations on federal lands versus state lands, county lands, tribal lands, and private lands. What did you see this summer? What should we know?
There's a little bit of a perception, I believe, that, we need to understand fire and understand its healthy impacts. But, my perception is we're seeing that really has a window, just like we're seeing the window of these fires blowing up and being, in my opinion, truly catastrophic. So I heard a lot about healthy fire from the agencies, where on the lands that you referenced that aren't federal, we're seeing, initial attack, stop the fires, mitigate the risk.
You're also doing active management then to
And
reduce
we're
the fuel load.
actively managing. So we see ground fire. So my perception is that there is a little bit of an understanding that we need fire, but it isn't understood when that time is. And so the federal agencies are backing off a little more regularly than we see the other agencies, and the fires are getting bigger, faster, and more severe.
Thank you.
Chairman's time has expired. Chair now recognizes gentleman from